It was a warm afternoon in late June when the peculiar affair of the Mary Bush first presented itself. The air hung heavy over London, and a thin veil of mist had settled upon Baker Street, turning the gaslights into blurred stars even at that hour of the day. Holmes and I were seated in our sitting room at 221B. He stretched languidly upon the sofa, a pipe between his long fingers, while I attempted to make some progress through a medical monograph that had none of the interest of a case. Holmes had that curious restlessness which always heralded the arrival of some strange adventure. His eyes, bright and quick, roved now and again to the window, and I could see from the tightening of his jaw that he was eager for distraction.
My dear Watson, I perceive that your reading is not quite equal to the excitement of a new case. Your fingers tremble slightly at the turn of each page, not from the thrill of anatomy, but from sheer anticipation.
You are, as ever, correct, Holmes. I confess that I find my medical journals a poor substitute for the peculiar drama of life that seems to find its way to this very door of ours.
Precisely. It is fortunate then that life is obliging. You observed, no doubt, the mud-stained boot prints upon the stairwell?
Indeed, I did. Heavy soles, if I'm not mistaken, and recent, given the dampness of the mark.
Admirably observed, Watson. A sailor's tread, I should say, from the spread of the heel. And unless I am mistaken, the owner of those boots will be with us within the next 30 seconds.
You cannot mean that you expect a sailor to call upon you this very instant.
I do, and further, that he is recently returned from the Channel, that his errand concerns a vessel called the Mary Bush, and that it will bring with it both tragedy and perplexity.
I was about to remonstrate at what I thought to be one of his more extravagant suppositions, when a knock resounded upon the door below, brisk and uncertain, followed by the familiar creak of Mrs. Hudson's tread on the stair.
"A gentleman to see you, Mr. Holmes. Says it's urgent, sir. He looks fair worn out, he does."
Show him up, Mrs. Hudson, if you please.
The man who entered was indeed a sailor, weathered skin, the tan of years at sea, and eyes that darted about our sitting room as if still scanning a restless horizon. His clothes were neat but frayed, his cap clutched nervously in his calloused hands.
"Begging your pardon, gentlemen, but I was told Mr. Sherlock Holmes could help a man when the law was blind to his troubles."
You were told correctly, Mr.
Reed, sir. Jonas Reed, formerly of the merchant vessel Mary Bush out of Southampton.
Holmes turned his keen gaze upon the man, and I could see the familiar gleam of deduction already at work behind those grey eyes.
Formerly, Mr. Reed? Then I gather the Mary Bush no longer sails?
She lies at anchor, sir, near Limehouse docks, or what's left of her. Fire took her 3 nights ago. No, not by chance, if you ask me.
Interesting. Pray, continue.
There's not much to tell, sir, only that the Captain Bristow, vanished that same night. The police say he perished in the blaze, but there's no body to show, and I swear by my life he's still out there.
Vanished? And the cause of the fire?
That's just it, Doctor. They claim it was lantern oil spilled careless, but I've seen ship fires before, and this one started in the captain's cabin, neat and set, like someone planned it, and before the fire broke, there was a quarrel aboard, a man's voice raised, though I could not place it.
You speak with conviction, Mr. Reed. Yet the disappearance of your captain alone would not bring you to Baker Street. There is something more.
Pause. Hesitates. Aye, sir. The Mary Bush carried cargo. Simple goods, or so we thought. Tobacco. Some crates of French wine. But when I saw one of them burst open during the fire, it wasn't wine inside. It was brass. Old brass boxes sealed and engraved with some kind of strange mark. Looked foreign. Captain Bristow had orders to deliver them to a private collector in London.
Holmes leaned forward at this, his long fingers steepled beneath his chin.
Describe the mark, if you please.
Like an anchor crossed with a serpent, sir. I swear it, though it chills me to think on it.
Ah, a symbol of considerable antiquity, Watson. The mark of the Brotherhood of the Eastern Sea, an organization long thought extinct.
I confess, I had never heard of it.
Few have. It was said to have operated along the trade routes between Singapore and Bombay, dealing in certain illicit antiquities. That a vessel under British registry should carry such cargo is deeply suspicious.
Then you'll help me, Mr. Holmes?
If the Brotherhood has returned to London's docks, we are dealing with more than a case of arson. Mr. Reed, tell me, who else knew of this cargo?
Only the captain and the first mate, sir. Mr. Enoch Blaine.
Then we must meet this Mr. Blaine. Watson, your hat and revolver, if you please. I believe the air of Limehouse will do us good.
Holmes never required persuasion when the scent of mystery was before him, and I followed with my heart beating faster than I cared to admit. Within the hour, we were rattling eastward in a hansom cab, the fog closing round us like a living thing. Board. The docks of Limehouse were a dismal sight, cranes like skeletal arms, ships looming out of the mist, and the oily tang of the river in the air. Reed led us to where the hulk of the Mary Bush lay, her timbers blackened, her masts little more than charred stumps.
A melancholy sight, Watson. Yet the ashes of a ship may tell a tale as clearly as the ink of a ledger.
Holmes knelt by the scotch planks near the stern, running his fingers lightly over the debris.
Observe, Watson, the fire spread outward from this very spot, but note how the boards beneath remain only half burned. Oil poured downward, not splashed from above. A deliberate ignition.
You mean someone lit it from below?
Precisely. And see here, fragments of metal, perhaps from one of the brass boxes our friend described.
Holmes extracted a small piece and held it to the fading light. The mark was faint but visible, an anchor entwined with a serpent.
So the cargo was indeed here, and someone took pains to destroy the evidence. Ah,
Mr. Holmes, I told you, I knew it were no accident.
quite so, Mr. Reed. But the question remains, where is Captain Bristow, and what became of the rest of these boxes?
We were joined then by a surly-looking man with a lantern, whose rolling gait marked him as another sailor, his eyes, narrow and suspicious, fixed upon us as he approached.
What's this, Reed? Bringing strangers aboard a burned-out hull? The place is cursed enough without meddling gentlemen poking about.
Explain, this here is Mr. Sherlock Holmes, the detective.
Grunts, how do you? Don't hold with detectives. The police did their job. Fire, accidental. Captain's gone. Best let the dead rest.
And yet you seem uncommonly anxious to keep us from looking further. Perhaps you fear what we might find?
I have nothing to hide.
Then you will not object to my examining your cabin.
My cabin? There's nothing there but ashes.
We shall see. Watson, a moment of your assistance.
Holmes brushed past the protesting sailor and descended into the remains of the lower deck. The air was heavy with the scent of burnt wood and tar, but his lantern's beam soon caught on something glinting near the floorboards, a chain, half melted, ending in a small padlock.
Curious. A chain bolted to the deck. What need has a sailor of such restraint, unless it were to secure a chest? Or a man?
You think someone was held here?
I think, Watson, that the Mary Bush hides a crime far darker than arson.
Holmes straightened suddenly, his gaze sharp.
And Mr. Blaine knows more than he dares confess. Come, Watson, we shall visit Scotland Yard tomorrow. But tonight, I have a theory to test.
And thus began one of the strangest and most perilous investigations of my acquaintance. The adventure that would lead us from the docks of London to the forgotten alleys of the East End and into the shadowy heart of the Mary Bush mystery. Sleep did not come easily to me that night. The charred wreck of the Mary Bush and the strange mark upon those brass boxes haunted my thoughts. Holmes, however, sat long by the fire, his pipe going and his gaze lost in that peculiar inward contemplation that I knew signified the weaving of his theories. When I awoke in the early dawn, I found him still in the same position, as though the hours had merely deepened his resolve rather than wearied him. The morning light crept pale across Baker Street, glinting upon the litter of papers and chemical apparatus that had accumulated during the night's vigil. Holmes looked up only when I stirred.
Ah, Watson, you are awake. Excellent. I trust your dreams were not too heavily freighted with burnt ships and missing captains.
Indeed, they were precisely of that character, Holmes. You have been up the whole night, I see. Have you made progress?
Somewhat. The matter of the Mary Bush, though outwardly simple, conceals an extraordinary complexity. Tell me, Watson, do you recall the symbol upon the brass boxes?
The anchor entwined with a serpent?
Just so. I have encountered that symbol once before in a case concerning smuggled idols from the Burmese coast. It denotes an oath. The sea binds us. The Brotherhood of the Eastern Sea is not, as most believe, a sailor's superstition, but a living organization. They deal in the forbidden traffic of relics and artifacts from ancient temples.
You suspect the Mary Bush was engaged in this trade?
I suspect she was the unwilling courier of such wares. True, someone used her to convey these items to London. Captain Bristow either discovered the truth and sought to expose it, or he was part of the scheme and turned against his accomplices. In either case, his disappearance and the fire are no coincidence.
But why destroy the ship?
Because, my dear Watson, fire obliterates evidence, and in maritime cases, there are few witnesses who can challenge a convenient accident.
Holmes rose abruptly and began to pace the room. Yom, his long coat swirling about his knees like a restless shadow.
The next step is clear. We must find out who chartered the Mary Bush's cargo. Such transactions always pass through a shipping office, and I know precisely where to inquire. Dress warmly, Watson. We are bound for the Thames Register Office at Tower Hill.
London that morning was wrapped in a grey drizzle, the streets glistening with rain and the river rolling sluggishly beneath its bridges. We reached Tower Hill in due course, where the register office stood like some bureaucratic fortress against a storm. Within, the air smelled of ink, damp paper, and the slow industry of clerks who knew every secret of the city's maritime commerce.
Quietly to the clerk. Good morning, sir. Sherlock Holmes, consulting detective. Consulting detective. I seek the charter record of the merchant vessel Mary Bush departed from Southampton last month.
One moment, Mr. Holmes shuffles papers. Here we are. Mary Bush, registry number 194. Cargo listed as spirits and assorted goods. Consignee a Mr. Nathaniel Beck of Wapping Lane.
Beck, I know that name. A collector of oddities, once under suspicion for illicit import of antiquities from Singapore.
Then Beck is our link to the Brotherhood?
Precisely, and Wapping Lane is not far. Come, Watson, the trail thickens.
Wapping Lane lay deep within the maze of the East End, narrow streets that twisted like veins between, and damp warehouses and crooked taverns. Cool. The fog there seemed to take on a life of its own, creeping along the ground in silent eddies. Holmes strode with purpose, his keen eyes missing nothing, while I kept pace beside him, revolver in pocket.
Observe, Watson, how few windows this Mr. Beck's house possesses. A collector? Yes, but of what manner of treasures that he fears to show daylight upon them?
The house stood at the end of a cul-de-sac, its shutters drawn, its knocker green with age. Holmes rapped sharply, 3 times.
From within, who is it? What do you want at this hour?
Mr. Nathaniel Beck, my name is Sherlock Holmes. I have come regarding the cargo of the Mary Bush.
A pause then. I have nothing to say about that matter. The police have already been here.
I am not the police, Mr. Beck, which is precisely why you should talk to me.
There was the sound of bolts drawn reluctantly, and the door creaked open to reveal a pale man of middle years, his hair lank and his expression one of perpetual unease. Bright, he wore the air of a man accustomed to concealment.
You have no idea what you're meddling in, Mr. Holmes. Those boxes, I never ordered them. They came unbidden, consigned in my name by someone I have never met.
And yet you accepted the delivery.
I tried to refuse, but the captain insisted the papers were in order. The next day I received a letter, unsigned, demanding I surrender the cargo unopened. It warned me that the serpent watches those who betray the sea.
A threat, surely.
Indeed. Mr. Beck, did you keep this letter?
It fumbles through a drawer. Here, sir, you'll find it unpleasant reading.
Holmes examined the letter, its parchment stained by salt and bearing the same anchor and serpent seal impressed in red wax.
The handwriting is foreign. Malay, perhaps, or Dutch colonial. The tone is unmistakable. Intimidation. Watson, this confirms it. The Brotherhood is active once more, and London is their new harbour.
I tell you, I wanted nothing to do with them. I'm a simple trader in curiosities, old coins, ship's logs, bits of coral. I thought the Mary Bush's fire was an act of providence, that the cursed cargo had been destroyed.
And yet, not all of it was. Some boxes are missing. Someone removed them before the blaze. Do you know who had access to the ship?
The captain, of course, and his first mate. I met the captain once. Bristow was no fool, but he looked frightened that last time. Said something about being followed through the docks.
Followed by whom?
A tall man with a scar upon his cheek. Foreign looking, he said. I swear, that's all I know.
You have been most helpful, Mr. Beck. Lock your doors tonight. There are forces moving upon this river that even the law cannot restrain.
As we stepped back into the fog, Holmes was silent, his eyes distant. At length he spoke, more to himself than to me.
A tall man with a scar. I recall such a description from the records of the Singapore police. One, Singh, sometimes called the Sea Jackal, a smuggler and killer in the employ of the Brotherhood. If he's here in London, the matter grows grave indeed.
What will you do, Holmes?
Set a snare, my dear fellow, the kind that catches both rat and shadow. Tonight, we return to Limehouse. Artos.
That evening, under cover of darkness, we made our way once more to the burned hull of the Mary Bush. The river lay like black glass, disturbed only by the lap of the tide against the piers. Holmes moved with feline silence, his lantern hooded.
Keep low, Watson. The Brotherhood may not yet have finished their work here.
We had scarcely reached the gangway when a faint sound reached us. The scrape of a boot, the rustle of cloth. Holmes gestured sharply, and we crouched behind the shattered rail. Through a gap in the timbers, I saw two figures moving with stealth across the deck. One carried a lantern wrapped in cloth, the other was tall, broad, and unmistakably bore a scar down the left cheek. I drew my revolver, but Holmes placed a restraining hand on my arm.
Not yet. Let us see what treasure the sea jackal comes to claim.
The scarred man knelt near the same spot where Holmes had found the chain earlier that day. He pried up a loose plank and withdrew a small object wrapped in canvas.
The missing box, Watson. Observe, they left one buried beneath the floorboards.
Shall we stop them?
Patience, my dear fellow. The hunter who springs too soon loses his quarry.
But our patience was soon tested. Flicker of light betrayed our presence, and with a curse, the scarred man turned, eyes gleaming like a beast's.
Who's there? Show yourself, or by the sea that bore me, you'll regret it.
Stepping forward calmly. Good evening, Mr. Singh. Or shall I call you the sea jackal? You are far from your native waters.
Holmes, I know you. You meddled in Calcutta. Send my brother to the rope.
And now it seems I must do the same for you. Surrender that box.
Never. The Brotherhood does not forgive.
With a snarl, Singh hurled the lantern at our feet. Flame blossomed, smoke rising. I fired once, the bullet striking his arm, but he vanished into the fog, leaving the canvas bundle behind.
Quick, Watson, the box, before the fire spreads.
Together we dragged the canvas parcel clear. Inside was indeed one of the brass boxes, unscarred by flame, the serpent mark gleaming dully in the lantern light.
Ops. Oh, one piece of the puzzle saved from destruction. We shall open it at Baker Street, under safer conditions.
Holmes, do you think Captain Bristow met his end at this man's hands?
I think, Watson, that Bristow may still live, and that this box holds the key to finding him.
Thankfully, we made our way home as the river swallowed the last echoes of pursuit. Holmes carried the box as though it were both treasure and time bomb. Right? Whatever secrets lay within they would, I felt certain, draw us into deeper peril still. And so ended that grim night upon the Thames, a night whose consequences neither of us could yet Agent. It was close upon midnight when we returned to Baker Street, the rescued box resting upon the table like a silent witness to our night's work. The brass was dull with age, yet even in the lamplight it possessed an ominous luster. The serpent-and-anchor emblem seemed almost to writhe upon its surface. So cunning was the engraving. Holmes, who had scarcely spoken during our journey, now regarded the object with that peculiar mixture of reverence and suspicion which he reserved for puzzles of the most uncommon nature.
You perceive, Watson, the workmanship. It is Eastern, without question. The brass hammered by hand, the hinges fixed without the use of modern tools. This box is no mere container. It was fashioned as much to guard what it holds as to conceal it.
Do you mean to open it now, Holmes?
At once, curiosity, when left to simmer, breeds only foolish speculation. Fetch the lamp nearer, if you please.
I did as he asked, the golden light throwing our shadows large upon the walls. Holmes produced a delicate instrument, a thin blade of steel shaped for precisely such purposes. With a twist of his young fingers, he worked the lock gently, humming to himself in that low tone that always accompanied his mental exertions.
Curious, most curious indeed. The mechanism is not of European make. Like, it employs a sliding pin principle used by certain Indian craftsmen, ingenious though inefficient against patience.
After a few tense moments, there came a faint click, and the lid sprang open with a sigh, as though releasing the breath of some ancient tomb. Within lay several folded parchments, browned by age, and a small object, wrapped in a strip of faded silk. Holmes unrolled the first of the documents, his brows knitting as he scanned the delicate script.
Written in Portuguese and of the 16th century, by the look of the hand. These are fragments of a ship's log, Watson, belonging to a vessel called Santa Maria do Leste.
That would make it nearly 3 centuries old. But what could such relics be doing aboard the Mary Bush?
That, my dear fellow, is precisely what we must determine. The Brotherhood of the Eastern Sea, as its name suggests, trafficked not only in contraband, but in secrets buried by time. These parchments speak of a lost island and of a treasure sanctified by the sea serpent.
You think these relics are pieces of some ancient map?
Not merely a map, perhaps a record of discovery. Such documents in the hands of unscrupulous collectors are worth fortunes. Men have killed for less.
Holmes now turned his attention to the silk-wrapped object. Gently, he unfolded the fabric, revealing a curious artifact, a small idol of tarnished bronze, scarcely 4 inches high, depicting a coiled serpent with rubies for eyes. Even in the lamplight, it seemed to possess a dreadful vitality. I confess that a chill ran through me at the sight of it. Holmes regarded the thing with scientific detachment, though his voice carried an undertone of unease.
An idol of the Nāga cult, common to the Malayan coast. Note the inlay of ruby dust along the scales, a mark of high ceremonial importance. This is not a mere curio. It is an object once revered, perhaps stolen from a temple.
You believe the Brotherhood smuggled these relics into England?
Undoubtedly. And when Captain Bristow discovered the true nature of his cargo, he threatened to expose the scheme. The Brotherhood silenced him, either by death or abduction.
But why bring the relics here, to London?
Because here lies their intended buyer. Somewhere within this city dwells a man wealthy enough and wicked enough to traffic in forbidden antiquities. The key to this riddle lies not in the relics themselves, but in who desired them.
Holmes drew out his magnifying glass and bent over the lid of the box, his keen eyes tracing every line of the engraved serpent.
Ha, Watson, do you observe these faint scratches beneath the emblem? They are initials, CB, engraved after the box was made.
Then Bristow.
Precisely. Which means that this box, and perhaps others like it, came directly into his possession before the fire. He marked it, perhaps intending to use it as proof should he confront the Brotherhood.
Then this relic is our link to the missing captain.
Exactly, and we shall use it to draw his hunters from their lair.
Holmes rose abruptly, the gleam of resolution in his eyes.
Watson, send word at once to Inspector Lestrade. I require discreet surveillance along the river wharves and at Wobbing Lane. The scarred man, Singh, will not abandon his prize so easily.
And you, Holmes, what do you intend?
To consult a scholar of Oriental antiquities, Professor Langham of King's College. He alone may decipher these writings fully. By understanding their value, we may grasp the motive for murder.
That afternoon found us at King's College, amid a labyrinth of glass cases and mouldering manuscripts. Professor Langham was a dignified figure with a scholar's stoop and eyes bright behind his spectacles.
Good heavens, Holmes, you bring me relics from the age of the conquistadors. These parchments, you say, were found aboard a modern ship? Astounding!
Quite so, Professor. Can you decipher their meaning?
Peering closely, they speak of a voyage from Goa to the South China Sea, of a Portuguese captain, W.S. Live, who claimed to have found a temple beneath the waters, guarded by a great serpent, see here, or temperaturas aguas dormidas, the temple of the sleeping waters. Fascinating.
Kojda, and this idol, Professor?
Recoiling slightly, I advise you to handle it with caution, gentlemen. Such objects are often said to carry a curse. This one in particular is linked to the legend of the Nāga's vow, that those who steal from the sea shall drown in it.
Holmes smiled faintly, though I could see the flicker of interest behind his calm.
A picturesque superstition, Professor. And yet, how many a superstition has masked a human crime?
True enough. But take care, Holmes. There are collectors in London who would pay dearly for such a relic and kill to possess it.
Just the confirmation I required. Thank you, Professor. You have been most enlightening.
As we left King's College, the rain had begun again, soft and persistent. Holmes turned his collar up against the damp and looked out across the mist-veiled river.
You see, Watson, how each piece falls into place. The Brotherhood smuggles relics. A collector in London pays for them. Bristow, discovering the truth, defies them. They burn his ship to erase the trail. Only one question remains. Who in London financed this enterprise?
You have a suspect in mind?
One name suggests itself. Nathaniel Beck claimed ignorance. Too much of it, perhaps. But there is another shadowed figure, a financier known as Sir Algernon Greaves. His name appears in connection with several East India ventures. His house lies in Kensington, and I have heard whispers of a private museum within its walls.
You believe Greaves to be the collector?
We shall soon discover. Tonight, under cover of dusk, we will pay Sir Algernon a visit, unofficially, of course.
I have learned through long experience that when Holmes speaks in that tone, resistance is futile. Thus, as the evening drew in, we found ourselves in Kensington, standing before the imposing facade of Greaves's mansion. The windows glowed faintly through the mist, and from within came the murmur of a string quartet. Holmes regarded the scene with the eye of a tactician surveying enemy ground.
Observe, Watson, the east wing is dark. That, I fancy, houses his collection. Now, keep silent and follow me.
With astonishing deftness, Holmes scaled the rear wall and slipped through a side gate. We entered a narrow corridor lined with statues and cabinets, each glimmering faintly under the half-light of gas lamps. Holmes paused before a glass case. Within lay objects of unmistakable Eastern origin, jade carvings, gold masks, and idols not unlike the serpent figure we had recovered.
Just as I thought. Greaves is our man. But what is this? Look here, Watson.
He pointed to a stand where an empty space yawned amid the collection. Beneath it, a small brass plaque-read, "Relic of the Nāga cult, acquired from Captain Elias Bristow." Holmes's eyes blazed with triumph.
Elementary, my dear Watson. The captain sold at least one artifact to Greaves before his conscience, or fear, overtook him. He knew too much, and the Brotherhood moved to silence both him and their buyer.
A sound behind us made me start, a door creaking open. We turned to see a tall man in evening dress, his face pale and composed, Sir Algernon Greaves himself.
Gentlemen, I think you owe me an explanation. Breaking into private property is an ugly business, Mr. Holmes.
Not so ugly as the business that brings the Brotherhood's relics to your door, Sir Algernon. Shall I fetch the yard, or will you tell me how Captain Bristow came to vanish from your employ?
I silly, you overstep yourself, sir. Bristow was no more than a courier. I have nothing to do with whatever befell him.
Yet you possess his treasures, his letters, and his guilt. Tell me, Sir Algernon, Where is he?
I cannot say. He came to me a week before the fire, raving about some curse, insisting he'd been followed. I told him to leave. That is all.
Holmes's gaze bored into the man, reading his every flicker.
Your fear betrays you, Greaves. The Brotherhood does not forgive its clients any more than its thieves. I advise you to speak before they silence you as well.
Hesitating, there was one other letter. It warned me to destroy all evidence, to burn what I had received. I ignored it, and 3 nights later, the Mary Bush burned instead.
A grim exchange, Holmes.
Indeed, Watson. Greaves, you will surrender that letter to me at once. It may yet save your life.
Handing over a sealed envelope. Take it, but I tell you, Holmes, there are powers at work here that no man can master.
Only men. Sir Algernon never powers. Remember that.
As we departed, I could not shake the sense of unseen eyes watching from the shadows. Holmes walked swiftly, the letter clutched in his gloved hand, his face set in grim determination. Whatever lay ahead, I knew the mystery of the Merry Bush was far from over. For now, we had uncovered its treasures. But the price of that knowledge, I feared, was yet to be paid. The following morning broke grey and lifeless, as though the very sky mourned the secrets of the night before. Holmes, who had scarcely closed his eyes, was already at work when I rose, the hearth cold, the air thick with the smell of burnt tobacco and chemical reagents. Upon the table lay the letter taken from Sir Algernon Greaves, its red seal broken, its contents spread before him like the entries of some oracle. Holmes greeted me with the brisk nod of a man whose mind is moving at 3 times the speed of his W. Odds.
Good morning, Watson. I trust you are fortified by rest, for today we pursue the living shadow of the Mary Bush herself.
You have deciphered the letter then?
Entirely. It was penned in cipher, a simple transposition such as a child might employ, but its meaning is grave enough. It is a summons from the Brotherhood to their London agents, warning that the captain has escaped.
Escaped? Then Bristow lives.
Precisely. The letter is dated 2 nights after the fire, meaning the good captain survived his own ship's destruction. The Brotherhood, believing him dead, now hunts him anew.
Where might he have gone?
The answer lies between these lines, Watson. The cipher contains a phrase, "The old bell tolls at midnight." I believe it refers not to poetry, but to geography. There is a tavern by that very name near Shadwell Basin, the Old Bell. It was once a haunt of sailors and smugglers. I should wager a sovereign that Bristow sought refuge there. Hey!
Then we must go to him at once.
Patience, my dear fellow. The Brotherhood will not be far behind. We must go armed with both reason and readiness. Bring your revolver and that remarkable courage which I have so often found of use. Oh!
Thus it was, later that morning, that we set out once more toward the eastern districts. The fog lay thick as wool, and the city seemed to watch us through its misty veil. Holmes, cloaked and silent, guided our cab through the labyrinth of lanes until the smell of tar and salt marked our nearness to the river. The Old Bell Tavern stood at the corner of a narrow alley, its sign half-rotted, its windows smeared by years of neglect. Within, the place was dim and close, the air thick with tobacco and cheap rum. Few sailors sat in shadowed corners, their eyes dull from drink or darker habits.
Softly. Observe, Watson, the man in the farthest booth, his cap drawn low, yet his hands bear the marks of a mariner. And see how he starts each time the door opens. That is the posture of a man pursued.
You think it is Bristow?
I am certain of it. Remain here. I shall make the introduction.
Holmes crossed the room quietly, once, his presence drawing no more notice than the drift of smoke above the lamps. I watched as he spoke a few words to the stranger, who looked up sharply, a gaunt man, his face lined by hardship, his hair silvered, though he could not yet have been 50. The recognition that dawned in his eyes was mingled with both fear and relief.
Hosts whisper, you're Holmes. I prayed you'd come.
And here I am, Captain Bristow, though you've not made it easy for your rescuers. Come, we must talk, where ears do not multiply like flies.
We followed him into a narrow passage behind the tavern. Cubby asked where the smell of the river came in faint and cold. Holmes wasted no words.
Captain, your ship was fired to erase a crime. We know of the Brotherhood and their cargo, but we do not yet know what hold they had upon you, or what drove you to vanish instead of speaking to the authorities.
But Delhi, the authorities, you think I hadn't tried? When I told the portmaster what was in my hold, he laughed and told me to take it up with the customs office. But before I reached them, a man followed me, a man with a scar. He said if I spoke again, I'd go to the bottom of the Thames with my ship. That night the fire began.
You escaped it?
Barely. I was struck down trying to drag my logbooks from the cabin. When I woke, the ship was gone, and so were the boxes. I've been hunted ever since.
And the logbooks?
Hidden. I dared not keep them here. There's proof in them, every name, every transaction. The Brotherhood would hang for what's in those pages.
Then we must retrieve them at once.
Hesitates. They're in the old lighthouse yard by Ratcliffe Pier. I buried them there under the stones near the ruined wall. But we must move quickly if they find me.
Court. The sound of footsteps interrupted him. From the tavern came shouts, then the clash of glass. Holmes's head turned sharply.
Too late. They have found you, Captain. This way, through the alley.
We plunged into the fog, the echo of pursuit close behind. I caught a glimpse of figures moving in the mist, dark shapes, quick and silent, the glint of steel among them. A pistol shot cracked the air, and splinters flew from the wall beside my head. Holmes seized Bristow by the arm, dragging him down a narrow lane that led toward the river. The tide was out, the mud flats glistening like tar under the faint glow of lamps.
This way, Watson. The lighthouse yard. Do you see that ruin ahead?
We reached the yard, a desolate patch strewn with broken masonry. Holmes motioned us to crouch behind a toppled wall. Jangda!
Whitley, Captain. The logbooks. Where did you bury them?
Here, under the stone slab. Who? Straining. Help me lift it.
Together we heaved the slab aside, revealing a bundle wrapped in oilskin. Holmes seized it and tore the covering open. Inside lay 2 volumes, scotched at the edges but intact.
Excellent. The ledger of the Merry Bush, and the final record in your hand, Bristow. With this, we can expose them all.
But our triumph was short-lived. A figure loomed out of the fog, revolver in hand, the Scarred Smuggler around Singh.
Give me the books, Holmes, and you might live. Refuse, and the river will feed on you.
You forget, Mr. Singh, that your Brotherhood has already failed once to drown me. I do not intend to repeat the experiment.
Singh fired. The bullet grazed Holmes's sleeve. I returned fire instinctively, the report echoing across the water. Dying. Examine. Singh staggered, clutching his shoulder, but even wounded, he laughed. A harsh, joyless sound.
You think you've won, detective? The serpent never dies.
With that, he fled into the mist, his footsteps fading along the quay. Holmes turned to Bristow, his expression grave.
We must get you to safety, Captain. The Brotherhood will not rest.
I've nowhere left to go, Holmes. My crew scattered, my ship's ashes. Only this, tapping the ledger, stands between me and the news they'd die for me.
Then you shall remain under my protection until this affair is concluded. Watson, we return to Baker Street. Lestrade must be summoned and these records examined.
By the time we reached home, the eastern sky had begun to pale. Holmes worked without pause, spreading the ledgers across the table, his eyes scanning page after page with lightning precision.
You see, Watson, consignments from Singapore, Bombay, Macau, all disguised as merchant goods. But here, in Bristow's own hand, Mercado's Dio! He lists the true cargo, idols, relics, and in one case, the idol of the sleeping waters. That must be the very artifact we now possess.
And the entries beside each shipment, initials, dates, sums of money. Sir Algernon Greaves' name appears more than once.
Just so. These books are our arsenal. With them, we can destroy the Brotherhood's operations from London to Calcutta.
A knock at the door announced Inspector Lestrade, his sharp features drawn into suspicion and curiosity in equal measure.
Holmes, you've kept the yard busy these 2 days. What's all this talk of foreign cults and ship fires?
Sit down, Lestrade, and prepare to expand your definition of crime. We have uncovered an international conspiracy beneath your very nose. The
So, not. You always say that.
And I am, as usual, correct. Read these ledgers. You will find names you know well among the buyers and smugglers.
Reading, then whistling. By George, if this is true, half the dock officials are in their pay.
Exactly. The Brotherhood used the Mary Bush as their courier, bribing port officers to look the other way. When Bristow rebelled, they silenced him, but he outwitted them still.
Lestrade looked at the wary captain with new respect.
You will have police protection from now on, sir. I'll see to that personally.
I want no more deaths for my name, Inspector. Bring them to justice. That's all I ask.
And justice they shall have. Lestrade, keep the ledgers under lock and key. Watson and I will see to the remaining thread, the scarred man. Mo!
Holmes, surely he's finished.
On the contrary, Watson, the serpent that loses its head still coils in the dark. Singh will strike again, and when he does, we shall be ready.
And with that grim prophecy, Holmes sank into his chair, the first rays of dawn touching his face. I could see that, though fatigue bowed his shoulders, the fire of his intellect burned undimmed. Thus ended the day we found Captain Bristow, alive, haunted, and hunted still. But I felt as I looked upon Holmes in that pale light, that the true peril of the Mary Bush had not yet revealed itself, for in Holmes's eyes gleamed the certainty of coming conflict, and perhaps of sacrifice. The events that followed remain as vivid in my memory as the echo of a pistol shot across the Thames. 3 nights after the recovery of the Mary Bush's ledgers, Holmes had not slept for more than a handful of hours. At base, he moved through our sitting room like a restless spirit, every inch of him consumed by calculation. The fire burned low, casting long shadows that danced upon the walls. Captain Bristow, pale and trembling, dozed fitfully in the armchair by the hearth, his mind still haunted by the ghosts of his ship and crew. I had just begun to nod in my own chair when Holmes spoke suddenly, his tone sharp as a whip crack.
The serpent coils for its strike. Tonight, Watson, I have read its movements in the ledgers as clearly as a map.
You have discovered their next move?
Indeed, the Brotherhood cannot afford to lose the documents now in Scotland Yard's keeping. They will attempt to recover or destroy them before dawn.
You think they would dare strike at the yard itself?
They dare anything, my dear fellow, but they are cunning. They will not come through the front gate. There is a disused warehouse adjoining the eastern wall, with a passage once used for evidence transfer. Lestrade, poor soul, has likely forgotten its existence. The Brotherhood has not.
Then we must warn him at once.
Already done. I sent a telegram an hour ago, urging him to station his men within. But we shall be there too, for I have no faith in the police's ability to dance with serpents.
Glancing toward Bristow and the captain,
He will remain here under Mrs. Hudson's care. The Brotherhood may expect him to flee. They will not dream he is guarded by a landlady with the moral fibre of a regiment.
too, smiling faintly. Indeed, Holmes, I would rather face a dozen smugglers than cross Mrs. than Hudson when her temper is roused.
Just so. Come, Watson. Our revolvers and that lantern. We go to the yard.
The journey through the fog-choked streets seemed endless, Thomas. The lamps along Whitehall burned dimly, and the city slept uneasily under its pall of smoke. By the time we reached the looming facade of Scotland Yard, the air was thick with silence.
Meeting us at the door. Holmes, you were right, confound you. My men spotted movement near the old warehouse half an hour past, but when we went to look, the place was empty.
Empty to the eye, perhaps. Have you posted guards along the internal corridor?
2 men. They report nothing unusual.
Then the enemy is already within. Come, Lestrade, Watson, quickly and quietly.
We moved through the dim passageway that connected the yard to the warehouse. The gaslights flickered, and the air smelled faintly of damp rope and oil. Holmes halted suddenly, holding up a hand.
Do you hear that?
A faint creak, like a board shifting under weight.
Precisely. Keep your pistol ready. Lestrade extinguished that lamp.
The darkness swallowed us whole. For a few moments, there was nothing but the sound of our breathing. Then a flicker, the glow of another lantern ahead. 3 figures emerged from the gloom, masked and silent, moving with the deadly grace of men accustomed to crime.
Lo, the Brotherhood's agents. The middle one, Singh. I would know that scar in the pit of Tartarus.
Calling softly, Mr. Holmes. You have a talent for surviving, but tonight your cleverness ends.
I fear, Mr. Singh, that your Brotherhood has underestimated British masonry and my understanding of geometry.
I barely had time to wonder at Holmes's words before he pulled a cord hidden behind a stack of crate. There was a sudden clatter. The warehouse door slammed shut and heavy chains dropped from above, sealing the intruders inside.
The yard's engineers were kind enough to preserve this trap for evidence security. A most satisfying device, is it not?
Stepping forward with his men, in the name of the law, drop your weapons!
The Brotherhood men turned, desperate, but Lestrade's officers closed from every side. Drawn, Singh fired once. The shot struck a lamp, showering sparks across the floor. I returned fire, but in that instant, Holmes lunged forward, seizing Singh's wrist. The revolver clattered to the stones.
You think you've won, detective? This city will burn with our vengeance.
Your city, sir, is built upon reason, not superstition and smuggling. Your Brotherhood ends tonight.
The struggle was brief and fierce when it ended. Two of the masked men lay bound, and Singh himself was shackled by Lestrade's own hand.
You've done it again, Holmes. I'll see these devils stand before the crown before dawn.
See that you do, Lestrade. Their tongues will loosen quickly when faced with the gallows.
As the prisoners were led away, Holmes turned to me with that rare expression of weary satisfaction that marked the close of a great pursuit.
One more task remains, Watson, to tell Captain Bristow the serpent is slain.
We returned to Baker Street in the pale hour before sunrise. Mrs. Hudson met us with her usual mixture of indignation and affection.
You've been out all night again, Mr. Holmes, and I'll have no more of it. That poor captain's been pacing like a ghost.
Then let us relieve his mind, Mrs. Hudson. Pray, send him in.
Bristow entered, his face drawn and uncertain.
It's over there?
Entirely. The Brotherhood is no more. Singh and his fellows are in custody, and Sir Algernon Greaves will face justice before the week's end.
Sinking into a chair, then my ship can rest. God forgive me, I thought I'd never see this day.
Holmes regarded him with that curious gentleness which he reserved for the truly wronged.
You are as much a victim as your crew, Captain. The Mary Bush sailed under a shadow, not of your making. History will see that your name is cleared.
You've given me my life back, Mr. Holmes. I can never repay that debt.
Nonsense. Payment enough lies in the knowledge that justice has been served. Now I advise you to take the first train to Devonshire and live quietly until the case concludes.
I shall. God bless you both.
And when he had gone, Holmes stood at the window, gazing into the foggy morning. The first light touched the rooftops, silvering the drifting smoke of London. I knew better than to speak. His mind, though victorious, was far away, perhaps aboard that doomed vessel, adrift in thought as it had once been on the sea.
Softly. The world is a ship, Watson, and most men drift upon it unknowing. They see only the waves before them, never the current beneath.
You believe the Brotherhood will rise again?
Crime, like the tide, ebbs and returns. But so long as reason endures, so long as there are minds willing to observe, we shall not be lost.
I could find no answer worthy of that conviction. The case of the Mary Bush had shown me more than ever before the strange beauty of Holmes's intellect, cold and blazing, terrible and brilliant all at once. I took up my pen that evening to set down the full narrative of our adventure, that posterity might know not only the facts, but the spirit of the man who solved them. It was a story of fire and fog, of loyalty betrayed and restored, and of a detective whose logic pierced the darkest corners of human deceit. However, and when at last I closed my journal, I looked across to where Holmes sat once more with his violin, its low notes drifting like the tide upon the room. He played not a triumphal air, but a quiet one, a melody half sorrow, half serenity, the requiem, due, perhaps, for the ship that bore the mark of the serpent.
Murmuring as he played, The Mary Bush sleeps, Watson, and with her the ghosts of those who sought gold in shadows.
Thus ended The Adventure of the Mary Bush, a tale of flame, fog, and friendship, and another chapter in the long chronicle of that most singular of men, my friend Sherlock Holmes.